Today, I'm going to review the RF 7200-2.8 from Canon. I'm going to talk about why I absolutely love this lens and why I'm thinking about selling it. Welcome to the Summit Vid Gallery. I'm excited to bring you a review of the Canon 7200-2.8 RF mount lens. I've had this lens for about 6 months now, since I really did my full switch to Canon in July. And I've always kind of loved 7200s. I've used them for, since 2012. I actually got my first 7200, which was the old Canon 7200 f4 non-IS. So it was small, and not the sharpest, but I loved that lens. And since then I've used the Canon 7200-2.8 version 2. I've used ones from Sony. I've used ones from Nikon. And I've always kind of loved this lens and this focal range. It's really very versatile. Telephoto landscapes and telephoto panoramic landscapes are two of my favorite ways to shoot. And a 7200 is a great way to do that. They normally are top tier image quality for a brand. And I found that to be certainly true with this version, the little RF version. So first I'm gonna kind of talk about some of the body design here, because this is really small for a 7200-2.8. I mean, normally they're easily, like, they go out to here, they weigh a pound more than this one. Like the version 3 Canon 7200-2.8 is a pound heavier than this guy. So way smaller, way lighter. The trade-off for that is that this pops out like this. It's a telescoping lens. Some people really hate that. Honestly, I feel like it's worth the trade-off to be this small and this light. I've had no issues with dust or anything getting inside. So that has not been an issue. I think that's the main concern. Other than that, there's a mechanical thing moving like that. Yeah, to me, absolutely worth it. And it's more of a traditional 7200 size when you do that. But it has stabilization in body, onboard stabilization, and it pairs really well with the R5 stabilization. I was getting shots, like, normally you want to stay the inverse shutter rule, which means that, like, if you're at 200 out of 200, you'd want your camera at 1/200th of a second or faster. At 200, I've gotten shots at a 50th or even slower handheld, sharp shots. So that is the stabilization is great, and then it combines really well with the R5. It's good on the EOS R too. I've used it a few times on the EOS R, and it obviously doesn't have built-in stabilization, so it's just the lens, and it was great for that too. It has several modes for stabilization. If you look on the side here, you have 2 and 3. I believe 2 is for panning, and I'm actually not sure what 3 is off the top of my head. I've only used 1, so that's all I can really speak from experience, and it works great. It also has focus limiter on here. Again, I've not really used that. The autofocus is plenty fast without it, and you can turn the stabilization on and off, and this is where you would do that, which you might consider doing on a tripod. I haven't had any issue with that, but it might be smart to do just to make sure you have no, the lens knows what you're trying to do. So image quality on this lens, it's fantastic. Like I think I already mentioned that it's really good, but like for landscape photography, it's super duper sharp. The color's great. I'm actually going to jump into Lightroom now and actually show some of the shots that I've got with this lens, and you can kind of see for yourself like the results you can kind of expect out of this lens. We are in Lightroom, and I just wanted to show you some of the images that I've gotten that kind of can demonstrate the image quality, the sharpness, both edited and unedited. Most of these are unedited, but I do have a couple in here that I have done an edit on to kind of show you how it holds up to editing. So let's jump in with some of these landscape shots here. This first one, whoa, jumped right in. There we go. This first one, this is Capitol Peak by Aspen. and you can see absolutely insane sharpness here. Here it is along the edge, and then this is at f4 for reference, but here it is along the edge, and it just holds that sharpness clear to the other side. And this is the other edge, and then this is significantly closer in distance, these ridges right here, to the actual Capitol Peak itself, and you can see the detail here in the trees, just really sharp, and that's at f4. This next one is at 2.8. So I wanted to show you this one in comparison because it's, it's not the exact same location, but it's very close, and this is still Capitol Peak. But I'm going to zoom in on this ridge here, and you can see, and this image is slightly edited, but you can see the sharpness is close to identical. I mean, yeah, I can barely see a difference. If I do see a difference, just kind of moving across the frame here and pause right here on this detail area right here, it's just really phenomenal sharpness, image quality. The color is super good. I love the blue tones I was able to extract out of this image, and this is of course at 2.8. Now this next one is also at 2.8. The theme of a lot of these images is going to be Capitol Peak, apparently. And you can see very sharp. And then this is a good demonstration, and I have another one to show you in a second too, that it handles haze very well. So it retains the image quality through the haze very well. I can jump into develop here and go ahead and put a little bit of dehaze on here so you can kind of see how the detail it retains. Really great detail. And this is about 4 miles away from here where we're standing, where I was standing to take the shot. So that's some decent distance, and it handled dehaze filter really actually boosted that shot quite a bit. And this is another example of that. I feel like how a lens will cut through haze is actually an aspect it's not talked about, how much it retains detail in haze. But it's something that if you're going to shoot landscapes with a telephoto lens, it's very important to retain. And then this one, as you can see, as I add dehaze filter on here as well, really great detail right through that haze. Not a lot of distortion. I feel like it just really just retains and brings out the awesome detail. And here's a foreground. This shot was at 6.3, which is kind of the sweet spot I've found for this lens, or is my favorite maybe aperture as far as sharpness. So, and then this one's at 6.3 as well, I do believe. Yes, and again, this one's unedited, so this is just what you're gonna get straight out of the camera, and just it handles no chromatic aberration when you have the whites going into the browns of the peak here, and this dusting of snow. This is a very somewhat high contrast scene here with the sun hitting the top here and then going down in the foreground. And then look, this again is at 6.3, and then we're having some focus fall off down here at the bottom, but man, yes, I just could not recommend this lens more based on sharpness. I do have a couple of images of Toby here, just to kind of show some people photography, since 7200 is oftentimes used for that. Very, very, very sharp. The background is nice. This is at 5.6, so it's not even at 2.8. And decent pop, I would feel like. It's a little busy, obviously. This isn't necessarily an ideal situation for that, and especially at 5.6. But this next one, this one's at 2.8. Yes, at 2.8, and it's at 128 millimeters, so it's not even at the full 200. Great detail here. His hair, the color's good, and then the background separation, very nice, very creamy background here. This green here, and then yeah. So this is kind of a little sample of what it might do with people. Again, that's not really been what I've used this lens for, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that, you know, a 70-200 2.8 is going to do phenomenal for portrait photography. You know, I think you can kind of get an idea of the pop and the bokeh that you would get from this lens, just from this image. This is another example. This is a landscape version of that. The foreground out of focus. This is a little busy. You know, I mean, I kind of like the image. It's kind of got an interesting energy, particularly when viewed from a little further away. But this is at 2.8 and super duper sharp in the middle of the frame here. I should probably see if I can show the corner sharpness. Yeah, let's look at the corner sharpness like on this shot here. Going back here, if it goes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is just fine. I wouldn't say that it's probably focused as much as its lack of sharpness, just because I focused. My focus point was up here. So, but you know, I think it's certainly adequate, and the edge sharpness with the area that's in focus, like look around here, very good. So, all right, well, this is just kind of a little look at the image quality that you can expect from the Canon 70-200 2.8. I've been raving about this lens. There are a couple of things that I don't like. The tripod collar here, it's not really a con so much as it's just completely unnecessary. The lens is small enough and light enough, like I have had no reason to not just use it mounted on the camera body. So this is just kind of an extra thing, like I just no real reason to use it. It just adds weight to it to leave it on. So in my opinion, it's kind of unnecessary. Another small, again, it's kind of an objective con. I would have put this on the front. It's on the front with the 15-35 and the 24-105 that I use. And I use it more when it's up there. Back here, I honestly forget about it. It's closer to the body of the lens. It's a little more awkward to use. I've not been a huge user of these control rings anyway. And having it back here means that I barely use it at all. And then the last, and this is an actual con, the lens hood is big, it's ugly, it's just kind of funny looking. It just makes the lens look yeah, kind of big and ugly. It's got the filter twisting pocket thing, which I've always found to be, I've not really ever used it. I feel like you can just shoot without it, and then this is just something that just, you know, you have to mess with and makes noise and is kind of just, I don't know, seems unnecessary to me. But I have just always just left the hood in, after I tried it on, after I took it out of the box, I've just kind of not even used it. So I had to find it to shoot this review. So yeah, I really don't care for the lens hood. So why am I thinking about selling it? And I've actually pretty much made the decision that I am going to sell it. Well, the main reason is that I found another lens that I like just as much, probably more, and that is the 100-500 RF lens. And you know, it's bigger, but it's more versatile for what I have been using telephotos for. The last few times I've taken this lens out and not taken this lens out, I have regretted it. I've missed having the extra reach. Having a lens this size clear out to 500, its stabilization works great handheld. I can shoot handheld panoramas at 500 with this lens, you know, easily. And that's been really kind of mind-boggling to me, and it's kind of opened up my creativity where like I've just kind of wanted to use this lens for stuff. The image quality on these is about the same in use. If you probably, use test charts, you'd find that this one's a little sharper. Like, I can't tell the difference really in actual use. To interrupt myself real quick and hop back into Lightroom, while I was editing this video, I thought that it might be interesting that you guys would be interested to see just kind of a sharpness comparison between the 7200 and the 100 to 500. I kind of alluded to that their sharpness is very similar, and I just wanted to show you part of the reason why I'm so impressed with the 100 to 500. It's just a very sharp lens. So we're going to do, we'll start with these two images here. This one is 7200, this one is 100 to 500. So we'll just hop in here, and this one's at 200, this one's at 300. The settings are very similar, although this one is 1/150th of a second, this one's 1/100th. And they're both handheld, so you can kind of get an example of the stabilization. But here we'll hop in here and zoom in and look, and then obviously you're getting a little bit more reach with the 100 to 500. It's still loading, by the way, but you can see here the sharpness is very, very similar. Now this was a little later. This one on the right was a little later in the evening, so the exposure is a little different. Obviously, you can tell, but they both cut through haze well. But the sharpness is remarkably similar. We can hop back out here and look at another couple of examples. And then I just wanted to show you a couple of examples of how well the 100 to 500 does all the way out at 500. I know this isn't officially a review of this lens, but I talked about that I'm willing to sell my 7200 because of how good the 100 to 500 is. So you can see this is at 500 millimeters. This was on a tripod at 1/130th of a second, but look at how sharp it is clear out to 500. I just, I've shot with super zooms like this before. The Sony 200 to 600 comes to mind, and this is just on another level. Whoops, got a little mixed up there. Here's another one of Capital at 500. Yes, 500 and 1/500th of a second. So I was inverse shutter rule this time, but look at how well the 100 to 500 cuts through the haze and just retains amazing details. So anyway, this was just a little quick jump in. I just kind of wanted to show you guys them compared, so you can kind of keep that in mind if you're shopping, especially if you're a landscape photographer. The lenses are priced similarly, so there's a decent chance you'll be looking at this video wanting to compare them anyway. And as you can see, the 100 to 500 holds up extremely well to that 7200 2.8. Should you get this lens for landscape photography? I mean, yes. I mean, it's so sharp. It's so small and light for landscape photography. You get 2.8, and it's sharp across the aperture range. I didn't mention that earlier. 2.8 to f11, like I cannot really tell a difference in a landscape situation. I've shot landscapes at 2.8 with this, and like, I would never have thought about it being, but really, like, you could shoot it at you can feel fully comfortable shooting it at any aperture. So in a lot of ways, it's ideal as a landscape photographer 7200. And then, if you're shooting sports or portraits, then it's a no-brainer. 7200 is a great lens, and this is the smallest and lightest you can get, and you're not missing out on any image quality. Just for me, I've decided that the 100 to 500 is kind of where I want to go and where I want to stay. I want to lean into this lens and take it with me into the field. So Anyway, if you enjoy these Summit Bid reviews, we would love it if you subscribe to our channel. And if you like this review of the 7200-28, if you could give us a like, we really appreciate it. So we'll see you on the next adventure.
Oh boy, that's bright. Might have to go back over there.